What's up, gearheads? When it comes to accelerating your car, there are certain basic factors that apply to all cars. Any make or model, doesn't matter. Weight distribution, weight transfer, traction, rolling resistance, parasitic loss in the engine, drivetrain losses. All these things apply to all cars, no matter what. Whether you're drag racing, whether you're out on the street bashing with your buddies, trying to beat them by a fender, if you don't apply all these things, your car isn't going to run to the maximum potential. If you apply all these things, not necessarily by spending a whole lot of money, but by using your smarts, moving weight around, doing all the right things that make a car work to its ultimate potential, doesn't matter how much horsepower you have, it's going to run its best ETs, its best numbers, if you address all those things. We're going to show you a car that is trying to do all that, and it's well on its way to doing all those things. It's a 5-liter Mustang. That might turn some of you guys off, but if you can look past the badge, I'm telling you, you can learn a few things if you haven't heard of this stuff before. My friend Mitch, he lives up in Michigan. He's a little bit of a stalker of mine. Actually, to be fair, he's really a stalker of my car, my '84 Mustang, some of you may have seen. It originated in Michigan as a Ford Motorsport project car. It was a magazine car, on and off over the years. I've raced it for a long time on the East Coast, and he's followed my progress, and we got to talking and emailing back and forth, and eventually we just started chit-chatting when he was going to the races, messaging, texting while he's in the lanes, trying stuff out. And a car that started out as actually an unknown project of undetermined goals, it just started to accelerate from a street car that he was driving to work on occasion to a street strip car that he started whittling on, and before you know it, through driving and tuning and just experimenting with stuff and buying used parts and a little bit of this and a little bit of that, he went from 14s down to 13.0s. We squeezed out a 1290 with it with the stock engine in it, and the ultimate goal is to put it in the 11s. Already got the parts to do that, but we're going to try a bunch of other stuff on the way, and it's going to be cool. It's going to be a lot of different segments on this car. We're going to show you some interesting stuff, some hardcore stuff, and I think you're going to like it. So check it out.
I present to you Agent AOD. This is an '85 Mustang that I bought as a rolling chassis. It was an abandoned race car project. Initially, when I bought the car, my idea was to return the car to stock and just make a nice driver for myself or somebody who might want to buy it. The car was not supposed to turn into what it's turned into. In this video series, we're going to show you how we were able to take some tried and true methods and apply them to this car. We're going to go with some old school stuff, and we're going to mix it with some new school stuff, and we're going to show you how, by using a common sense approach, we were able to take this rolling chassis, which was pretty beat down, and make something out of it that's fun to drive, it's affordable, and you can learn from it, because I've learned a lot from it. I've learned how to make a car more balanced. I've learned how to make a car react. I've learned how to make a car run good with not a lot of money, using my brain instead of my checkbook. So hopefully you'll enjoy following along on this series as much as I've enjoyed building the car up to this date. And we have a lot more in store for you. We're going to be showing you some things that you may not thought of. We're going to show you some things that you think are really stupid. We're going to show you some things that you're going to think, man, why didn't I think of that? That's freaking genius. So hopefully you'll follow along. You'll learn something, because I've learned a lot so far, and I got more to learn. And that's it. We're just going to show you how we enjoy the car, what we do with it, how I'm able to fabricate some things for it using basic tools and some basic knowledge. I'm not a professional fabricator. I'm not a professional race car builder. I'm just a guy with a car and a garage and some tools. I got a welder, I got a grinder, I got a drill, that sort of thing. A lot of the same things that you guys have in your garage. So this is something that you can do. I've done it. The car's going to continue to evolve. I can't wait to see where it ends up. I've had a blast so far with it, and I hope that you enjoy this too. Most of the time when people talk about their race cars, they start at the front of the car and they want to tell you about the engine and everything they've done to the engine. Briefly, I really haven't done much to the engine, so there's not a whole lot to talk about. So in this case, we're going to start at the back of the car, because this is really where a lot of things have taken place. I'm not going to go into great detail right now on everything, but I'm just going to give you some quick highlights. As you can see, I've installed a weight box, which I fabricated myself in my garage with basic tools other than a welder. You can see also that the battery's been moved to the back, and you can also see here, what you're looking at right here, this bar going across, is I built that again in my garage, and I built that to tie in the shock towers with each other, because Lord only knows how many miles are on this car. So I did that just to tighten up the back of the car. The main thought process with this car is basically, if it's not needed, then don't have it on the car. The interior is what I would consider a minimalist approach. I do still have the heat in the car because I live in Michigan, and I do like to drive the car when it's cold out. I drive it very late into the season, so I like to have my heat. So the car still does retain the heat, and it retains most of the front portion of the interior. The rear interior panels are removed because they were falling apart anyways, so I just took them out. But the interior, basically, it's a basic interior. Basically, it's basic, and that's it. Nothing flashy. Just to provide you with a quick rundown on the motor, I'm not going to get into a bunch of specifics, mainly because there's really not much to get into. This motor was bought basically off of Craigslist for like 225 bucks. It's probably got at least 120,000 miles on it. I don't know much about it other than it is a forged piston HO motor. When I got it, I tore it apart. I left the heads on, but I tore everything else apart and put fresh gaskets in it and gave it a coat of paint. So basically it got fresh gaskets and a Krylon rebuild, and then it got put back in the car, and this is how I've been driving it ever since. Like I said, the motor is nothing spectacular. It's almost absolutely nothing to talk about other than the fact on how stock it still is. People ask me all the time at the drag strip, what's done to the motor? And I tell them nothing. Then they go, well, what kind of cam's in it? And I say, nothing. Stock. What kind of head? Stock. What kind of intake? Stock. It's stock. It's a $250 Craigslist motor. I have no idea what the history is on it, but I bought it. It was cheap, and it's been working awesome so far. So that's it. I've already probably said way too much on the motor.
Okay, stop right there. Did I tell him not to talk too much about the engine? Of course I did. Did he talk too much about the engine? Of course he did. So while Mitch is in timeout, I'm here to tell you we've got the next installment coming up soon. We're going to talk about how through timing changes and fuel pressure changes, shift points, working with the airbag and the pressure, tire pressure in the radials, how we got the car to run from the high 13s down into the mid and low 13s, just with simple basic tuning at the track and experimentation, keeping good records. That's what everybody should be doing anyway, getting out to the track, making passes, keeping records, having a blast. Also, want you to know there's some really cool and hardcore weight reduction stories already on the channel. They're based on this car. You're going to want to check them out. They're different. You might learn a thing or two. You might chuckle a little bit. You might think we're crazy, but you're going to have a good time. So go check them out. See you later.